Please welcome Group Director at Top Cashback, James Little.
Hello, welcome to this afternoon's panel. Thank you for taking the time out of your meetings to come along. So just a quick intro to start with before I bring the panelists up. So I'm James Little. I'm the Group Commercial Director at Top Cashback. As you can probably tell, I'm not from the US. I'm from London, but I am hoping to move out here. So if anyone has suggestions of how to convince my wife to move to California, then come up to me afterwards, please. We're the biggest cashback, or the biggest publisher in the UK now. Been in the USA for 5 years. Commission Junction was actually the first network we ever integrated 12 years ago. And this year, just to give perspective, we will pay out over $100 million in global cashback to our members. So that's us. I'd like to kind of, first of all, when I do panels and this kind of thing, be useful to understand like who's in the audience. So if we can do like a show of hands. So who here is a publisher or an affiliate? Okay. And then advertiser? Cool. Agency? Just two of you. And CJ employee? It's a few as well, okay. So you've got almost more CJ employees than anyone else, but that's not a bad thing, right? So kind of what we're hoping will come out of this panel is that you'll come out with lots of ideas and inspiration. So I guess to kind of set the scene about why this kind of panel's come about and what it's for is probably about 6 months ago, I wrote an article about kind of the things that I want to see kind of change in affiliate marketing for us to kind of continue to strive, etc. And one of the things that I mentioned there was around just kind of thinking creatively. And I think it's a big challenge for the affiliate industry. So I had a kind of quite controversial statement, I guess, that said that as an industry, I feel that we're probably too obsessed with numbers and ROI, which when we're performance marketing maybe is a silly thing to say. But I think that for me, that means that the channel sometimes suffers from a lack of innovation and creativity. So to give kind of an example, we, at Top Cashback in the UK, met with one of the largest advertisers in the UK, on CJ as well, and they had been spending very small amounts of money with us, and we were kind of like, how can we unlock more budget? And we went along to one of their kind of events, like they had a Christmas event in July that somebody you get, and saw all these different teams and all these kind of brands that they work with and everything else, and we were just kind of like, well, how do we get in front of those teams, get in front of those brands? And we actually went into their offices, met with their trading teams, came up with some kind of creative ideas around competitions and various other things, and actually went from them spending about $3,000 a year in paid placements with us to over 100,000 just from having those meetings. And just doing some really cool campaigns at the same time. So kind of what I wanted to do today was bring together this panel and talk about how we can do more of that. So without further ado, I welcome the panel onto the stage. A round of applause, please. Now we'll start off with the instructions in a moment, but one thing just to say is I'd like this to be quite interactive. So if anyone has questions anyway throughout this panel, then put your hand up. You can also use the app where you just need to go into the session and ask a question within there. So I've prepared some questions, but it's much better when you get a throw out from the audience so the panelists have no time to prepare for it. So, so any questions you have, then feel free to raise your hand throughout. But first of all, let's start some introductions. Starting Sri.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I spoke a little earlier, so hopefully some of you came along to that. My name is Sri Sharma. I'm CEO and founder of Increasingly. I'm a serial entrepreneur in the performance marketing space and digital marketing technology space. Increasingly helps retailers dynamically product bundles using machine learning, particularly a field called neural networking and natural language processing, and it increases retailers' revenue, basket size, and customer loyalty. So we are hopefully an example of innovation in affiliate marketing.
Hi, everyone. My name is ALEKSANDRA. I'm with SHOPSTYLE. I'm the Director of Business Development at SHOPSTYLE. And for all of you who aren't familiar with who we are, we're a shortcut to the world's best fashion. We are a search engine for shopping with 18 million unique visitors per month, influencing $1 billion in retailer sales per year. We also have an influencer platform where 14,000 influencers use our tools to help monetize their blogs.
I'm Todd SCHINDELE. I'm the Senior Manager for Partner Marketing at Hotels.com. Hotels.com is one of the leading online travel agencies in not only the US, but around the world. And we're also a part of Expedia Inc. So we fall under a very large umbrella company of Expedia, and work very closely with James currently. So happy to be here.
Good stuff. So just to kick off, so the first question for the panel is, affiliate marketing has often been seen, or is seen, as a last-click channel. And sometimes because of that, we've struggled to get extra budget signed off, especially where other channels don't necessarily have that issue. So a client we worked with in the UK came to us and said, we can't give you this offer because we have to give it to someone else who won't drive as much volume. And the reason for that is because they had to put more budget into pay-per-click, even though the customers we were generating were, high propensity of new customers, spent more money, etc. So how, I guess, have each of you kind of struggled, or how have you kind of overcome those struggles and addressed where the channel, has that reputation, but, and avoided that? Anyone want to start?
I can start. So I think for us at Hotels.com, it's all about proving the value of the channel. And I think what we've done is worked really closely with both of our CJ counterparts as well as our publisher partners on ways that we can kind of come together to prove the value of the shoppers that they're bringing to our site. I think Hotels.com as a business has a test and learn sort of environment where we're constantly challenged as employees to find ways where we can learn about our business, test different things, and iterate. And our publishers have really come to embrace that approach. And I think we've, through different ways of, for instance, for conversion testing on, messaging or landing pages, those are things where we can point to our publisher partners and say, this is true value that they're bringing to our site, and we're able to kind of quantitatively point back at that value. I would say, in addition to that, our publishers have really come to the table with some creative ideas where we've been able to leverage things like Hotels.com gift cards, where we have maybe a small budget to give away some gift cards, but we can really blow that out with sweepstakes and giveaways and things where we're actually able to acquire maybe some email addresses. So that's kind of a different way where we've been able to leverage our publisher partners sort of beyond the traditional click and earn a commission.
For us at ShopStyle, it's really, similarly, providing or proving our value across the customer journey, because we know that we influence the shopper beyond just last click. So it's about data and insights, and it's about working with our advertisers and networks like CJ on providing data to inform us on where we actually influence the shopper beyond last click. And we look at multi-touch attribution models that some advertisers are very, very sophisticated, and they can show that ShopStyle influences the shopping journey with our influencer network, for example, and that may not be necessarily lower funnel, that may be upper funnel, but there's still value in that to certain initiatives depending on their goals. So it's really about data sharing and knowing where we influence, but also the value of the customer too. That's really important. James, you mentioned this for you guys, but for us, when we look at the customers that we send to our advertisers, they're full price, high AOV, lifetime value is really high comparatively, and so that also helps us open up budgets, not only in affiliate, but in other departments too.
We're a little bit left field because we're a technology partner, and so we sit on site, so we're a conversion optimization platform, and we sit on the site helping the retailer increase their AOV. So where we really get into the debate of how can we be more creative, it's about actually saying, well, can the affiliate manager have an interest beyond just traffic acquisition, right? Because we talk about how do we bring forward the channel. So it shouldn't be purely about traffic, it should be actually improving the traffic you get. So that's something we really help with. So what we try and do is engage the affiliate manager to involve other key stakeholders, such as the UX people, or the conversion optimization people, or the e-commerce department. And then when we're working with them, it's about testing different creative approaches to try and increase AOV and basket size. Because if you can drive up your revenue uplift as a percentage by 5%, 15%, that affects the affiliate channel, but all the other channels. So it's about making that affiliate manager a hero, and that's what we try and do.
So from kind of all you there, like test and learn is kind of really important, I think. And I mean, maybe a question for Todd first of all, but how many affiliates and publishers have you found that it's easy to do that with? I think affiliates, for me, has always been kind of seen as a channel where you can't really test that much, you know, compared to doing A/B testing on conversions and various other things. But do you think that's changing? And I guess, you know, do you think that that's what publishers should take out of this, is saying, well, we need to find more ways of doing that?
A/B testing is a huge part of our culture as a business at Hotels.com. And we've been able to begin working with a handful of publishers now on some A/B testing opportunities, not only with A/B testing offers, but offer messaging, email creative, landing pages. Those types of things are super important for us in terms of really quantifying the value of what we're doing. And I think our publishers are taking those learnings and sharing them with their other advertiser partners. So I think it's something that's sort of benefiting us as a partner, but it's also benefiting the channel overall.
I'd probably jump in with, you know, I think you guys are a great example of a company that really believes in pushing the envelope and testing, and you embrace others within that fold. Most don't, if I'm perfectly honest, and I think that's fair to say. So I think the challenge is that it comes down to many things. It comes down to the hard metric of revenue and everyone being singularly focused on that, and that's not bad. The question is, what other metrics can we create as an industry that make us all champions for a broader area? Right? Because then we can actually have conversations around innovation, because you've got some new metrics to play with beyond revenue. So if I give an example, for example, something Google does, it invents metrics, right? So when they started doing driving traffic to in-store, they weren't driving any conversions, so they said, let's measure visits in store. And they just came up with different metrics, but because it's Google, they stand for something. So I think what we've got to do is, as an industry-wide, is actually come up with some really cool metrics, perhaps for voucher code sites, perhaps for cashback sites, as two disciplines, and actually broader metrics that everyone can stand behind, get the brands together on, and actually that means that then we're pioneering the industry forward. I mean, I'm talking, you know, holistically across the industry rather than just about myself, and I think that's the kind of, that's where you bring an impact, because you need to have a larger voice to make this kind of change.
Yeah, on that same note, you know, testing is great, and we love doing testing with our partners, especially if we need to prove value and get them to try something that they've never tried before. But to your point, adding additional metrics is also important to look at, and that's harder to do in a testing environment. I'm thinking of a specific example because we do have our influencer marketing platform, and we do a lot of influencer campaigns. You can't look at it in a silo. You can't just say, let's test one influencer campaign and see if that works. It's the residual impact that that campaign will have, so you have to look at it more holistically over a 6-month period of time and say, okay, well, let's opt in for a bigger, longer test to see what the impact on market share for our brand is, or the residual impact of the share of voice that we have within the influencer network.
So, which I completely agree with, but how do you find, from an advertiser perspective, they take that? Because obviously, as I mentioned earlier on, like, it's very ROI focused, it's channel. Yep. So when you say to an advertiser, you know, we need to, you know, spend all this money, but it's going to take maybe a year to come to fruition, or 6 months to see that share change. Like, what kind of reaction do you get from advertisers?
It's a huge challenge because it's a cultural thing, and it's internally at the advertiser, right? So we have some advertisers that have shifted their mindset from this direct ROI approach and have begun looking at it in a more long-term way. But that's really, I mean, our goal at ShopStyle is to provide them with the tools to empower the affiliate team to be heroes within their organization and drive that change, but that's really what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we have seen work really well is just providing them with data. The affiliate teams will typically invite the ShopStyle team over to For a lunch and learn, for example, we've done a number of those with multi-brand retailers where we come in, share the data, and share competitive insights. And everybody really reacts strongly to competitive insights. It gets them going. So like, okay, we know that our competitors are doing this. Maybe we should try this approach and see if that works. So I think data insights and just empowering the affiliate team with whatever they need to help drive that change internally is critical. But yeah, it's definitely hard.
Okay.
Something just on that point around data insights, something we used to do in previous businesses, which were search business, so helping brands find new customers, but on a paid and performance basis, so paid search, for example, was actually we would reinvest some of our profit back into, for example, generic activity, and then show the value that we were bringing to their brand impressions, and try and create a case study with them for them to get other stakeholders in the business involved in meetings to say, well, hang on a second, this is doing more than just revenue generation, and these guys are actually being creative, again, back to creativity, in how they're finding these new customers, this brand generic traffic. And I think that's also another way to break through, is by actually reinvesting yourselves, proving something, getting a case study and going back, getting more stakeholders and getting them to invest as well.
It's kind of like when you look at radio advertising, I guess, isn't it? And you get those kind of surveys to test how effective radio is. Of saying, you get a survey before about brand consideration, a survey when you finish your radio campaign. So something along those lines, I guess, is certainly a valuable thing. And I guess over to Todd then. So from a metrics perspective and through some of the things you've heard of, and you're at the forefront, I guess, in terms of the testing and everything you're doing, what other metrics do you look at, or outside of just sales and revenue?
Yeah, we look a lot at different KPIs. I think most of the advertisers here would agree. New customers is always a really important KPI for our businesses, and that's one of the things that our publishers have started to help us embrace further through new to file campaigns or new customer targeting campaigns. I'd say beyond that, we're starting to do more along the lines of mobile with install campaigns and working with our partners to drive value sort of beyond our traditional desktop setup. But of course, there are sort of inherent challenges there. So our publishers have been really flexible with us on sort of how we can make that work. I'd say those are some of the key KPIs we've been focusing on.
Okay. Now, it was from you guys in terms of metrics that you've provided, kind of with those additional data that you think could be useful. So, Shri, you talked about kind of creating some. Is there any ones that you've kind of particularly provided that you think could be useful?
Brand impressions, even trying to dabble in the world of brand recall, so taking from TV, taking concepts from TV, insight around the target customer that we were reaching and how we've changed the behavior, because there's kind of two branding metrics, one's interaction, one's actual behavior. So actually trying to dive into both interaction, which is much more hard, and behavior, and then showing them how we've changed behavior. So you could take, for example, voucher code sites and say, well, this is how we've changed their behavior towards your brand, which is quite powerful because it's really getting to the heart of the customer. But sometimes you've also got to just take a step back and go, you know what, if you really want to innovate, you've got to do something brand new, right? And frankly, retailers, they're right to only want two things, new customers and more revenue. There's no two ways about it. That's what you care about, and everything has to come back to that. So any experimentation, you have to prove that ultimately within a given period of time, you're going to get more customers, new customers, and you're going to get more revenue. So everything has to trickle back to that. Otherwise, you're just dancing around, just saying creativity for the fun of it.
Yeah. And before we carry on, is there any questions from the audience yet, or comments around what everyone said here? Any metrics that we've not mentioned? Feel free to put your hand up. No? Cool, you've covered it already. Okay, so in terms of kind of challenges that you face, so when you're trying to unlock that extra budget, I guess it's more from a publisher perspective, when you're trying to unlock that extra budget, what are the biggest questions or challenges you face, and how have you answered those?
For us, I think the challenge becomes just structure internally. A lot of times the affiliate team will sit separate from the marketing teams, and so when we're trying to do something innovative or new, again, it comes down to, well, the affiliate team needs a proven ROI, and so we need to tap into other budgets then. So we need to tap in the social or PR or branding budgets, and how do we do that? Well, we typically will, provide data and insights or case studies or competitive stats to help drive that conversation and empower the affiliate team to do that. Because the affiliate team will benefit too, because then they get additional budgets coming in. We've had a lot of success. An example of this is a multi-brand, for our multi-brand retailers. They get what they call co-op dollars from brands. So let's say Michael Kors will pay Neiman Marcus money to market through Neiman Marcus. And then as a partner to a multi-brand retailer, we provide them with options to advertise with SHOPSTYLE. And it's great because we're on brand for a lot of these guys. And what we've done is developed a whole co-op program. And we go in, and again, back to providing data and insights. We provide data and insights at the brand level and can really help meet the buyer's needs, the co-op team's needs. And those sit separately from the affiliate team. And then the affiliate team, now that they have these tools, has just unlocked additional budget from a different team, and now it's become a regular thing. We've seen that work really well, and it's been pretty successful in terms of making them happy and making the other teams of the multi-brand retailers really happy too.
Okay. And Shri, in terms of, it's not necessarily unlocking budget for you guys, I guess. It's about, with your new technology of getting people to partner up and use that, which I guess is a different struggle entirely and involves tech teams and stuff like that. Again, how have you overcome some of those hurdles for other kind of tech affiliates or advertisers? What advice would you give?
Yeah, so from our perspective, it's about educating, because nobody's doing what we're doing. So it's about educating, and it's about sharing, for example, dispelling any myths that A, we actually work on a CPA, B, the integration is super light because it's just a tag and we can go through your platform's container tag. And then C, that the revenue uplift is proven, and so I have to share case studies and actually really highlight the opportunity of driving a percentage uplift in revenue that affects not just the affiliate channel, but all channels. So it's an education piece and actually working with the affiliate manager. And I think sometimes the challenge is the affiliate manager might just feel safe just doing what they do. I know traffic from cashback and voucher codes, but it's about saying, well, actually, hang on, there's an opportunity here to innovate. And hopefully there are more people who are excited by new opportunities than not. And so it's about working with them to do that.
Okay. And then Todd, from your perspective, there was talk of, for example, unlocking budget from other teams. Is that something that you guys have done internally and successfully done? And if so, kind of how did you go about involving affiliates with those teams to unlock them? And what advice would you give your advertisers around that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've leaned on some of our internal teams, particularly our PR teams and our social teams, on helping us kind of pull together content for our publishers where we can provide some value to them, and typically in the form of data. So for us, travel data, which can be really interesting or useful. And then on the flip side, we're able to sort of leverage our internal social space to kind of cross-promote whatever that content may be. So as an example, we may have a publisher who would write an article about the top 10 hotels to stay at in New York. And so we can use our internal hotels.com social media platforms to say, check out this really interesting article from one of our partners. And that's something that our teams are really excited about. The other thing I was going to say is, to Alex's point about unlocking additional budget from other teams, we've actually been able to leverage some of our financial partners, payment providers really, so that would be Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, to help us fund cash back. So we may not have the most competitive cash back, but we can turn to some of our financial partners and say, hey, help us fund some cash back with some of our cash back partners. When the consumer uses your payment type, and that's a way for us to have a really competitive cash back rate, but also get some funding from another partner who's benefiting from our assets on that publisher's website. So it's been a really successful campaign or technique for us.
Okay, cool.
Do you have some questions that have come through?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So are we talking to senior enough people in advertiser organizations, or is affiliate still perceived as a junior industry?
You guys.
I definitely think that, from my experience with the advertisers that we work with, affiliate is gaining a lot of visibility. It's become a really robust channel in driving new customers, sales, and traffic to the site. So I definitely think that no, it's not a junior channel or a junior team, or I think there's definitely senior visibility from what I've seen. In some cases, you know, we've had great meetings with CMOs at our advertiser partners, and they, you know, sing the praises of the affiliate channel and helping them grow their business. So it's really nice to see, and it's really great to be a part of that growth as well, and have those senior level conversations, which I do think unlock a lot of opportunity as well.
I think from the advertiser perspective, it kind of comes back to proving the value of the channel. And as the channel has matured over time, I think, at least within our organization, we've come to embrace it, and because of that, we've been forced to really evaluate what kind of value are we seeing out of these shoppers, and from that, we've invested more in our analytics side and our product side, because we do see the value in our leadership, sort of not just at Hotels.com, but across the Expedia portfolio has continued to invest, sort of above and beyond just having an affiliate manager who sort of does affiliate with other things. Internally, we have a team of 3 that focus on affiliate for Hotels.com. So I would say it's the landscape has shifted over the last few years.
In my opinion, I'm going to respectfully disagree, because actually I think that, honestly, I think that retailers, see, when it's Google, it's one entity with a big brand halo, right? Or even Bing is a big brand halo, but when it's affiliate, because it's disparate organizations with no halo over the top of it, they know it can be a big number, right? 20% of revenue is a big number. But because it's individualized, they don't give it the same credibility, in my opinion. So I think that's actually the challenge of having these kinds of conversations where you then say, hey, can we get those guys involved too, and those guys? It doesn't happen because it doesn't have that same kudos. So I think something that industries, whether here or in the UK or anywhere, should do more of is getting the senior folk to these kinds of events, because then when they see these kinds of conversations happening or meet all the great folk here, they start taking it more seriously. Because at the end of the day, we're all a people business, right? People buy from people. So I think we need to have more senior people at all of these kinds of events being more involved, and therefore they feel more engaged with the channel, and they don't treat it as, well, there's thousands of affiliates in there and we can lose a few of them, doesn't matter. Which I think, in my perception, that's what they think.
And do you think that's the same across the different countries you work in? Obviously, you know, you do a lot in the UK, you've started to do a lot in the US. Like, have you seen any differences? Or in the UK, you've got the IAB, for example, who have been trying to do that for a long time. Do you think that's worked? Do you think there's a difference between those cultures?
I think it's worked to an extent. I just don't think it's got the same level of kudos as some other channels do. And I think that that's something that we just constantly need to strive for. For me to say specifically country to country is different, it's a little harder for me to do because I don't have the exact precise perspective. But I think the larger the advertiser, the more they may respect the channel, because the numbers tends to be a bigger number. It's not just a percentage, 20%, but it could actually be a really big number. But the smaller the size or the medium size, they may not have the same view.
Okay. Is there other questions in the audience or from the app? Yeah, sure.
Just to carry on from what you were saying, do you think that that's maybe because there's a lack of actual education of what affiliate is and understanding of what affiliate is?
Yeah. And a nice brand halo around what affiliate is and why, on aggregate, it's powerful rather than treated as just a few individual bites where you can lose some of it and it doesn't really matter. I totally agree, it's about education.
And moving away from it's a discount channel.
I agree. And the more it can be positioned as it's a range of different players who do all these other cool stuff for you, the better it is for the industry. And so, you know, that's actually therefore a good thing that organizations like increasingly are involved, because then it's actually, we've got all these range of really cool stuff, and together we're a real force. And I think that's powerful. Oh, and by the way, we all work in a CPA. I mean, come on, who doesn't want that?
Cool.
You talked quite a bit about creative strategies earlier on, but someone's still asking, beyond your own businesses, what is the most creative strategy you've seen?
Beyond our own businesses. Okay, I'll try and not be biased. Please, I'll let these guys go first.
Well, even within your own business, let's go that way to make it easier. So without selling yourselves too much, what do you think is the campaign or the creativity that you're the most proud of that you've worked on recently, I guess? Examples there.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. Just in terms of just being innovative and tying it back to the first point where, looking at data, looking at our influence beyond the last click. We've done case studies where we see that we actually also influence in-store sales, and we're, online shopping search engine, so it's really surprising to find that and innovating on that. And depending on the retailer goals, we've done some really great, campaigns where, we've partnered on driving in-store sales. But one in particular, just in terms of thinking beyond affiliate, again, ShopStyle is in a unique position too because we do have our influencer platform. We did have a brand that is doing a big brand refresh, and as part of this, they were launching this massive event during New York Fashion Week. And it was surprising that they looked to us as a partner to help amplify that event digitally. And so we basically did everything for them in terms of bringing the right influencers to that event and then making sure those influencers were posting on social, posting about the event on their blogs. So it took the event and brought it to life on other channels using ShopStyle as a partner, which was really, for us, a great opportunity to show our value beyond our search engine. Yeah. So that was one of the most recent campaigns that we're proud of.
Okay.
I think for us, one thing that we've started to do recently is pass back more transaction-level data to our publishers to really give them that transparency around the types of sales they're driving, the types of consumers that they're driving. I think one of the exciting things about that is our partners can take that data and really use it to not only sell hotels better, but to cross-sell other products. So if you're a publisher who sells a lot of beach hotels or beach destinations, maybe you should also be cross-selling flip-flops or beach towels or something like that. So I think that's something that our publishers have started to get really excited about. And we want to share all that data with them because obviously we benefit from it as well.
Okay. I'll say one that's not us, and then I'll mention us. I don't know, you guys all probably know and love Warner Brothers. So they've actually done a very, very cool digital out-of-home campaign recently, and I know the creative director of an agency who actually put that together, and it's like sensational. It's in London, and I'm pretty sure it's in the US, but effectively you go up to these digital out-of-home boards, and as you walk past, it starts giving you personalized messages to you, and sometimes frightens you as well, which is really funny to watch. They try to make it a little timid, but you have to kind of see it to really appreciate it, but it was just so outstanding. It was for some of the new movies that they were launching. So that's a really great example. I won't explain in detail the creative campaigns, but there's a lot of creativity in what we do because first off, the maths is super hard, but then you have to think about the UX of the experience. But as a consequence, we've just been shortlisted for finalist for Best E-commerce Product of 2017 and Best Retail Tech Startup of 2017 as well by Retail Week. So we're super proud of what we're doing too.
Fantastic. I know we need to wrap up in a moment, so I guess the last one from me is if each of you give one piece of advice for an advertiser, for a publisher in the audience today to take away about being creative and doing things a bit different, what would it be? I didn't get you prepared for that one, so
I'm good to go.
You go for it.
So I think a motto that I've learned in life, especially on an entrepreneurial journey, has been to a very simple phrase, give it a go. And I think if more advertisers, agencies, affiliate managers, publishers took that attitude, they'd find that they push the envelope just that little bit. And if everyone pushes the envelope just that little bit, you'll have a really dynamic industry. And isn't that surely what we all want? So, my message to everyone would be have much more of an attitude, which fortunately I think in the US you've got much more of it than I'd say lots of countries, but just really give it a go.
And sorry to cut in here, but we're running out of time, so if you just have one quick thing to say, that would be
Sure. Take bigger risks. So similar to give it a go, take bigger risks and be more, if there's an innovative product that a publisher is promoting, that, trust them to know that this might be a good thing for you and take the risk.
I would say communicate regularly and frequently, hopefully in person, but if not, over the phone. I think the more communication that you can have more frequently, the more that gets done, and the better the results.
Fantastic. I think that's a wrap. So thanks very much.